Good morning, girls. I'm Dr. Kiran Deshwal, Assistant Professor English, BGD Government Girls College, Shapura. Let us continue with our story, The Refugees. In previous video, we have talked about the refugees who are coming in the capital, which is alien to them, and they are alien to that place. We know that they are not welcomed with an open heart. City dwellers are not happy with their arrival. Let us continue. Open page number 34, paragraph 2nd. Some of the refugees are hardworking. They don't want to beg. They are doing their work to earn something. But some of them who don't know any work, they are the victims. City dwellers rebuke them, chide them. So we left our story where city dwellers have a bitterness, and this bitterness is increasing as the number of the refugees are increasing. Even usual pullers of rickshaws who follows this as their profession curse the refugees because being starved they would pull for anything given to them, and so fares were low for all, and all softness with the city full of refugees. Then begging at every door, swarming every unskilled trade and service, lying dead on the streets at every forceful dawn. Why should one look at this fresh horde coming in now at twilight of a winter's day? The refugees are ignored by city people, but the group which is coming today, it has its own speciality. But these were no common men and women. The people who are coming today are not common men and women. No riff-raff from some community, always poor and easily starving in a flood time. No, these were men and women of which any nation might have been proud. The people who are coming now are very hardworking. It could be seen they were all from one reason. There was a unity in their dressing sense, in their uh, physical structure, for they wore garments woven out of the same dark blue cotton stuff. They are wearing garments made of same dark blue cotton stuff, plain and cut in an old-fashioned way, the sleeves long and the coats long and full. The man wore smoked aprons and the smoking done in curious, intricate, beautiful design. Same pattern and design was there on their clothes. The women had bands of the same plain blue stuff wrapped like kerchiefs about their heads. Both men and women were tall and strong in frame. Although the women's feet were bound, every man carried a load of 2 baskets slung on a pole across his shoulders. In these baskets were cloths and quilts made of their blue cotton stuff and padded. In these lines, the writer gives a graphic description of the dressing sense of the people who are coming. Clothing and bedding were clean and strongly made. There was a unity in their dressing sense. All of them were wearing the dresses made of same blue cotton, and there was same pattern and design. They were woven of from same pattern and design. In both the baskets, every person has 2 baskets In both the baskets, on top of every folded quilt, with a bit of mat between, was a cauldron. These cauldrons had doubtless been taken from the earthen ovens of the village when the people saw the time had come when they must move, but in no basket was there a vestige of food, nor was there a trace of food having been cooked in them recently. We know that by this clue we come to know that they struggled till the last as far as they could. They struggled, they waited for the flood to stop. They are brave people. They left their village it when the situation became out of control. So we can see that they were hungry from many days because there was no trace of food in their cauldron, but still they are happy, they are hopeful, they are strong, they are hopeful. This lack of food was confirmed when one looked closely into the faces of the people. It was visible on their faces that they are hungry, they are starved, they are hungry from many days. In the first glance in the twilight, they seemed well enough, but when one looked more closely, one saw they were the faces of people starving and moving now in despair to a last hope. Still, they are hopeful, though there is despair, but they are hopeful. It is very paradoxical. They are hopeful in despair, they are hopeful in uncertain situation. That's why they saw nothing. Nothing can create interest in them. They were not curious to see at anything. They saw nothing of the strange sights of a new city because they were too near to death. They were afraid. They were afraid. They don't know when they will die to see anything. No one sight could move their curiosity. They were not curious to see anything because they are afraid. They were men and women who had stayed by their land until starvation drove them forth. It is starvation which forced them to leave their place, them to to move from there. Thus they passed unseeing. That's why they were not seeing, they were not looking at anything. They were silent, they were alien, as those who know themselves to be dying are alien to the living. So, in this paragraph, the writer describes why they are neglecting or avoiding every new thing of the new capital of the new city because they are afraid. They are too near to death to see anything. That's why nothing can interest them. The new things of the city are unable to draw their attention towards themselves. The last one of this long procession, it was a long procession, it was a big group, there was a huge refugees were in huge number in this group. They are from the same place, wearing the same dress, having the same belongings. The last one of this long procession of silent men and women was a wizened old man. Even he carried a load of two baskets. Like everyone else, he was also having two baskets. In one basket, there was the quilt with a cauldron on it, while in the other basket, there was only the quilt but no cauldron. Although the load was light, it was too much for the old man. It was evident that in usual times he would be beyond the age of work and was perhaps unaccustomed to such labor in recent years. His breath whistled as he staggered along, and he strained his eyes to watch those who were ahead of him, lest he be left behind, and his old wrinkled face was set in a sort of gasping agony. In this paragraph, the old man of the story, the figure of this story, the mouthpiece of this story, through whom the writer wants to convey his message. So, in this paragraph, the writer describes him, the old man who is the symbol of hope. He is also from the same group, the people whom the writer have described in the previous paragraph. The old man also has two cauldron like anyone else in his group. In one cauldron there was a quilt. In one basket there was a cauldron. In another basket there was only the quilt. While in another basket there was only the quilt but no cauldron. Although the load was light because he is having just one cauldron, it was too much for the old man. But as he is old, the load is much for him because he is not able to bear the load. It was evident that in usual times he would be beyond the age of work. He has retired from the age of work and was perhaps that's why he is not habitual, unaccustomed, not habitual to such labor in recent year. In recent years, he might have been just resting. His breath whistled as he staggered along because he is too weak to carry on this load, and he strained his eyes. His eyesight is also weak, and he has to strain his eyes to watch those who were ahead of him. He is afraid that lest he be left behind. He should hurry lest he be left behind. And his old wrinkled face was set in a sort of gasping agony. He is also worried. He is also sad. Suddenly, what happens? He is too much tired. Suddenly, he could go no more. He is too tired. He is unable to walk anymore. He set his burden down on the earth with great gentleness and sank upon the ground. He sits on the ground, his head sunk between his knees, his eyes closed. He is tired, panting desperately. He is tired due to long walk. That's why he is panting desperately, panting, taking breath deeply, taking deep breath. Starved as he was starving. A little blood rose in dark patches of his cheeks. A ragged vendor selling hot noodles sat his stand near and shouted his trade cry. Vendors were there, they are selling their goods, they are uh, selling edible things. So he was selling noodles. He set his stand near the old man and shouted his dread cry, and the light from the stand fell on the old man's dropping figure. A man passing stopped and muttered, looking at him. A man was passing from there. He stopped and muttered something, looking at the old man. I swear I can give no more this day. If I am to feed my own, even nothing but noodles. He was very kind. Seeing the old man, he felt pity, but he says that I don't have any money to give. If I eat noodles myself, I can give no more but only this. But here is this old man. What shall I do? Well, I will give him the bit of silver I earned today against tomorrow and trust to tomorrow again. I will earn tomorrow again. Today I should give this old man. If my own old father had been alive, I would have given it to him. He is very kind. He takes the old man to be his father. He thinks that suppose that he is my father, supposing him my father, I can give him this silver coin because he is in need. So the passerby is very kind and he gives the silver coin. Thanks for watching.